Giuliana Romano has perfected the art of invisible service. For 6 months, she's made Alexander Bell's morning cortado at Bella Vista Cafe without attempting conversation beyond professional pleasantries. She knows everything about him from observation. Arrives 6:47 a.m. exactly. Always sits at the corner table with his back to the wall, works on his laptop until 7:30 reviewing market reports. Single origin Ethiopian beans, extra foam, precisely 156 degrees. He tips exactly 25% and says, "Thank you, Leah," with those piercing blue eyes that see right through people in boardrooms but never quite focus on her face. She's noticed other things too. The Patek Philippe watch that's vintage, not new, probably his mentor's, given how he touches it when making difficult decisions. The way his jaw clenches when his phone rings before 7 a.m. How he stares out the window on Fridays like he's wondering where the week went. The loneliness that radiates from him despite the expensive suit and the way other patrons whisper his name. Alexander Bell, the Oracle of Wall Street. The man who turned $100,000 into $50 billion and never made a wrong call. Leah understands loneliness. She left her 6-figure corporate translator position 18 months ago when Nona's Alzheimer's progressed beyond daycare solutions. Now she makes lattes and wipes tables while her linguistics degree gathers dust. Her mother guilt trips her weekly about wasting her education. Her friends from NYU have stopped inviting her to events. But Nona raised her when her parents worked 3 jobs to build their construction business. Family first, always. This Tuesday morning shatters her careful routine. Xander arrives at 6:47 with 4 men in suits that scream Italian luxury. Brioni, Zegna, custom tailoring Leah recognizes from her corporate days, translating for Milan-based fashion executives. They order espressos in perfect English, discussing market conditions and investment opportunities. Xander is reviewing a thick contract, red pen making occasional marks. He looks tired, more so than usual. One of the men, silver-haired with a Hermes tie, keeps checking his phone and smiling. Leah delivers their espressos on a silver tray, setting cups down with practiced efficiency. As she places the sugar caddy, 2 of the men switch to rapid Italian. Not the standard Italian taught in American universities, Neapolitan dialect mixed with financial terms. They assume no one in this Brooklyn cafe understands. Her blood turns to ice. "Stu schemo americano sta per firmare tutto," the silver-haired man says, laughing quietly. This American fool is about to sign everything over. 300 milioni diretti alle Cayman. Domani saremo a Positano mentre lui chiama I suoi avvocati. 300 million straight to the Caymans. Tomorrow we'll be in Positano while he's calling his lawyers. The younger one responds, "E la sua, squadra di controllo? And his due diligence team?" Già pagati, 500.000 ciascuno per guardare dall'altra parte. Already paid, 500,000 each to look the other way. Leah's hands tremble as she sets down the final cup. Xander is reaching for his Mont Blanc pen, flipping to the signature page. The contract is easily 200 pages. He's about to sign. She has seconds, maybe 30, before he puts his name on that line and these men destroy him. Her work visa situation is complicated. Her grandmother needs $8,000 monthly for the memory care facility plus medications. She can't afford trouble with law enforcement, questions about her involvement, anything that might jeopardize the precarious stability she's built. Every instinct screams to walk away, keep her head down, survive. But she watches Xander's face as he scans the signature page one final time, and she sees something that breaks through her self-preservation. Trust. He trusts these men, this brilliant, careful man who built an empire on reading people and predicting market movements, is about to be destroyed by his own integrity. Leah makes her decision. She leans down as if checking whether his coffee needs refilling, her curls falling forward to create a curtain of privacy. She whispers in rapid Neapolitan dialect, the language of her grandmother's stories. È una truffa, non firmare niente. Gli uomini al tavolo non sono chi dicono di essere. Li ho sentiti pianificare tutto in italiano. 300 milioni alle Cayman. Spariscono domani. It's a scam. Don't sign anything. The men at the table, they're not who they say they are. I heard them planning everything in Italian. 300 million to the Caymans. They disappear tomorrow. The Mont Blanc pen freezes half an inch above the signature line. Xander's head turns slowly, his blue eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that steals her breath. For 6 months, he's looked at her with polite distance. Now he's really seeing her, all of her, and the force of his full attention makes her knees weak. He responds in Italian, his accent American, but his grammar flawless. Sei sicura di quello che hai sentito? Are you certain of what you heard? Ogni singola parola. Sono napoletana. Parlavo il dialetto prima dell'inglese. Every single word. I'm Neapolitan. I spoke the dialect before English. Xander's hand shoots out and closes around her wrist, not roughly, but firmly enough that she feels the heat of his skin, the controlled strength, the desperation. The contact sends electricity shooting up her arm and straight to her core. His thumb presses against her pulse point, and she knows he can feel her heart racing. He rises from his chair in one fluid motion, all 6'3" of controlled power, and speaks loudly in English. I need more sugar. Leah, could you show me where you keep the raw cane sugar? I can't seem to find the right one. His hand moves from her wrist to her lower back, a touch that's both protective and possessive, guiding her toward the storage room behind the counter. The intimate placement, his palms spread wide against the small of her back, even through her work apron, makes heat flood her body. She's hyper-aware of every point of contact, the way his body shields hers from view of the table, how his expensive cologne, cedar, and something darker like aged leather and rain overwhelms her senses in the narrow hallway. The storage room is cramped, barely 8 feet square, lined with industrial shelves holding coffee bags, syrups, and supplies. He closes the door behind them, and suddenly, they're in a space meant for one person, standing inches apart. She can feel the heat radiating from his body, see the rapid pulse at his throat, watch his chest rise and fall with controlled breaths. Tell me everything, he says quietly, his voice rough. Every word they said. Leah translates rapidly, her linguistic training taking over, even as her body responds to his proximity. She explains the Neapolitan dialect, the specific financial terms they used, the mention of bribe due diligence teams and Cayman accounts. His jaw clenches harder with each sentence, fury barely leashed beneath his controlled exterior. Why are you telling me this? He asks. You could pretend you heard nothing, safer that way. Because you're a good man, she says simply. You say please and thank you. You tip the busboy the same as me. You hold the door for the elderly woman who comes in at 8. I'm not going to let good men be destroyed by criminals if I can stop it. His eyes search her face, really studying her for the first time, taking in her deep brown eyes, the curve of her full lips, the intelligence in her expression. His gaze drops to her mouth and lingers there. The air between them thickens, charged with an attraction that's been building for 6 months without either of them acknowledging it. She can see the exact moment he recognizes it too. His pupils dilate, his breathing changes, his hand that's still on her lower back flexes slightly, pulling her incrementally closer. Leah, he breathes, and her name in his voice sounds like prayer and profanity combined. The spell breaks when voices rise in the cafe, one of the men calling for Xander impatiently. He steps back abruptly, and she immediately misses his warmth. But something fundamental has shifted between them. She sees it in the way he looks at her now, not through her, but at her, into her. Stay here, he orders gently. Don't go back out there until I tell you. Xander exits the storage room with the controlled calm of a man who built his empire on poker faces and calculated risks. He returns to the table, makes a show of checking his phone, and announces casually that his legal team has flagged a few final questions about the offshore structuring. Nothing major, he says with an easy smile, but you know lawyers. They want everything triple-checked. Let's reconvene Friday. Throw. Silver-haired man's face tightens almost imperceptibly. Mr. Bell, we've been over every detail for 3 months. The markets wait for no one. Sign today, and we'll have your capital deployed by end of week. And I've built Bell Capital by never rushing the final signature, Xander replies smoothly, closing the contract. Friday at 2 p.m., my office. I'll have my full team present for the closing. He can see the calculations behind their eyes, whether to push harder or maintain the con. They choose maintenance, handshakes all around. They leave the cafe in a Mercedes S-Class speaking in Italian again. Leah watches from behind the counter, her hands still trembling slightly. Once they're gone, Xander approaches the counter. The cafe has other customers now, the Morning Rush building, but he doesn't care. "Your full name?" he asks quietly. "Juliana Romano. Everyone calls me Leah." "Leah, I need you to come with me. Now. There are people who need to hear what you heard." "I can't. My shift doesn't end until 2, and my grandmother—" "I'll pay for coverage. I'll pay whatever you need, please." The please is what gets her. She's never heard him say it quite like that, stripped of politeness, raw with genuine need. 20 minutes later, they're in the back seat of his Range Rover, his driver navigating Manhattan traffic while Xander makes rapid-fire calls. First to his head of security, a former Secret Service agent named Tommy, who appears at the cafe within 15 minutes to escort them. Then to his attorney. Then to a contact at the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. Leah sits beside him, hyper-aware of his thigh inches from hers, the way he keeps glancing at her between calls like he's confirming she's real. When they arrive at 26 Federal Plaza, reality crashes down. FBI agents, conference rooms, recording devices, hours of questions. She tells them everything in Italian first at their request, then translates herself. An FBI linguist confirms her Neapolitan dialect expertise. They're particularly interested in the specific financial terms used, the mention of bribed due diligence team members, the timeline. Xander sits across from her during the interview, his presence a steady anchor as she navigates federal questions about her background, her credentials, whether she's ever been approached by these men before. "Ms. Romano," says Special Agent Parker, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, "you understand that if we pursue this investigation and it goes to trial, you'll be our primary witness. These are very dangerous people, very connected. Are you prepared for what that means?" Leah thinks of Nonna, who fled Naples at 19 with nothing but a suitcase and her mother's recipes, who built a life in America through sheer determination, who taught Leah that you stand up for what's right even when it costs you. "Yes," Leah says firmly, "I'm prepared. The investigation moves with the speed that comes from FBI resources and Alexander Bell's connections." By that evening, they've identified the 4 men, members of a sophisticated international fraud ring that's stolen over $2 billion from investors across 3 continents. The due diligence team Xander hired has 3 members with flagged offshore accounts. Friday's meeting is canceled. The FBI wants to set up a controlled environment, get the conspirators on record trying to complete the fraud. When they finally exit Federal Plaza at 8 p.m., Leah is exhausted and starving. She's missed her shift, hasn't checked on Nonna, has 15 texts from her mother demanding to know why she's not answering. "Let me take you home," Xander says, and she's too tired to argue. In the car, the adrenaline crash hits her. Her hands start shaking. Xander notices immediately, his hand covering both of hers. "You're safe," he says quietly. "I promise you're safe." "I just committed to testifying against international criminals," she says, laughing shakily. "My Nonna is going to kill me before they get the chance." "Your Nonna?" "My grandmother. She raised me. She has Alzheimer's now. I take care of her." Something shifts in his expression, understanding, respect, a softness she hasn't seen before. "That's why you left corporate translation?" "You know about that?" "I know everything about everyone in my life, Leah. I've known your background since your 2nd week making my coffee. NYU linguistics, fluent in 4 languages, top of your class, recruited by 3 Fortune 500 companies. You left Deloitte 18 months ago. I just didn't know why." His thumb strokes across her knuckles, the touch absent-minded and intimate. "Now I do." She should be disturbed that he investigated her. Instead, she feels seen, understood. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" "Because I'm a coward," he admits, his voice rough. "Because you're the only part of my day that feels real, and I was afraid if I acknowledged you properly, you'd stop being mine." Her breath catches. "Yours?" His blue eyes lock onto hers in the dim car interior. "Mine. I've been telling myself for 6 months that it was just routine, just convenience, just the best cortado in Brooklyn. But I've been lying to myself, Leah. I come to that cafe at 6:47 every morning because that's when you start your shift. I spend exactly 43 minutes there, because that's how long I can justify sitting in a coffee shop before I have to get to my office. I know your schedule, your favorite radio station that plays while you work, the way you hum when you think no one's listening. I'm 40 years old, and I've built an empire on calculated decisions and emotional distance, and then you whisper a warning in Italian and save my entire world, and now I can't pretend anymore. The confession hangs between them, raw and honest. Leah's heart hammers against her ribs. Xander, I know this is terrible timing, he continues. I know you're dealing with your grandmother, and now you're wrapped up in a federal investigation because of me. I know I should keep my distance and let you process everything that's happened today. But I need you to know, you're not alone in this. Whatever you need, protection, resources, legal support, anything, it's yours. Why? She whispers. Because in 6 months of you making my coffee, you never once asked me for anything. Not an investment tip, not a favor, not even a conversation. You gave me 43 minutes of peace every morning and never demanded anything in return. And today, you risked everything to save me from my own stupidity. I owe you more than I can repay. You don't owe me anything. I owe you everything, he corrects softly. And I'm going to spend however long it takes proving that to you. The car pulls up to her apartment building in Bensonhurst, a pre-war walk-up that's seen better decades. Xander looks at the neighborhood, the graffitied walls and broken streetlights, and his jaw tightens. You live here alone? With Nonna. She's with a day nurse right now, but I need to relieve her. Let me walk you up. Xander, this neighborhood isn't dangerous. It's just old. Humor me. It's not a request. They climb 3 flights of narrow stairs, Xander's expensive shoes echoing on the worn linoleum. Leah unlocks her apartment door, and the smell of garlic and tomatoes hits them immediately. The day nurse, Mrs. Lee, is in the kitchen cooking pasta sauce, and Nonna is at the small dining table working on a jigsaw puzzle, her silver hair in a neat bun. Leah, Nonna calls out in Italian, where have you been? I was worried. Sorry, Nonna, work ran late. Leah switches to English, aware of Xander behind her. Mrs. Lee, thank you so much for staying. The nurse gathers her things while Leah pays her, adding an extra $50 for the overtime. Xander watches the exchange, sees the small apartment with its threadbare but clean furniture, the photos of family on every surface, the warmth despite the modest circumstances. Nonna notices him finally, her eyes sharpening with the lucidity that comes and goes. Chi è questo bell'uomo? Who is this handsome man? Nonna, this is Alexander Bell. He's a friend from the cafe. Xander crosses to Nonna, takes her hand gently, and greets her in perfect Italian. È un piacere conoscerla, signora Romano. Sua nipote mi ha salvato la vita oggi. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Romano. Your granddaughter saved my life today. Nonna's eyes widen, delighted. She launches into rapid Italian, asking about his family, his intentions toward her granddaughter, whether he's married. Xander handles it with grace, answering honestly, making her laugh. Leah watches, something in her chest cracking open at the sight of this Wall Street titan sitting at her grandmother's scratch dining table, treating an elderly woman with Alzheimer's like she's the most important person in the room. Finally, Xander stands, checks his watch. I should go. You need to rest, and I have calls to make. He turns to Nonna. Signora Romano, la sua nipote è la donna più coraggiosa che abbia mai incontrato. Your granddaughter is the bravest woman I've ever met. Nonna beams. Lo so, l'ho cresciuta io. I know. I raised her. At the door, Xander hesitates. I'm putting security on this building tonight. Tommy will have a team here within the hour. They'll be discreet, but they'll be here. That's not necessary. Yes, it is. These men you overheard, they're not going to take losing $300 million lightly. Once they realize the deal is dead, they'll try to identify who warned me. You're exposed, Leah. I won't let anything happen to you. The fierce protectiveness in his voice sends shivers down her spine. Okay, she whispers. He reaches out, tucks a curl behind her ear, his fingers lingering against her cheek. Get some rest. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Same time, same table. You're still coming to the cafe? Every morning, he says firmly. For as long as you'll let me. He leaves, and Leah leans against the closed door, her heart racing. Nonna calls from the dining room in Italian. That one, he's in love with you already. I can see it in his eyes. Nonna, you just met him. I'm old, not blind. He looks at you like your nonno looked at me, like you're the answer to every question he's been asking. She pauses, working on her puzzle. He's rich, this one? Very. Good. You deserve a man who can take care of you. You've been taking care of everyone else for too long. Leah doesn't argue. She just helps Nona to bed, her mind replaying every moment of this impossible day. The whispered warning, the storage room, his confession in the car, the way he touched her face at the door. She's in trouble. Deep, complicated, dangerous trouble, and not just from the criminals. What will Leah do with Xander's confession? Will she risk her heart for this Wall Street king? Keep listening to find out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Chapter 2. 3 days pass in a blur of FBI interviews, security briefings, and increasingly elaborate safety protocols. Tommy, Xander's head of security, becomes a constant presence. A former Secret Service agent with a kind face and no-nonsense approach, he coordinates a team that watches her building, follows her to work, vets every person who approaches her. It should feel suffocating. Instead, it feels like being wrapped in invisible armor. Xander comes to the cafe every morning at 6:47, exactly as he promised. But everything's different now. He sits at his corner table, but his eyes follow her around the room. When she brings his cortado, his fingers brush hers deliberately on the cup exchange. He asks her questions, real questions, about her life, her dreams, her grandmother. He tells her about growing up poor in Philadelphia, about the mentor who left him that vintage watch, about building Bell Capital from nothing and waking up one day with $50 billion and no one to share it with. Other customers notice. The regular morning crowd watches with fascination as Alexander Bell, the notoriously private oracle of Wall Street, flirts openly with their barista. Leah's co-workers tease her mercilessly. Her boss, Mr. Caruso, an elderly Italian man who's owned Bella Vista for 40 years, pulls her aside on Thursday morning. "This man, Bell, he's serious about you," Mr. Caruso says in Italian. "I've seen many men come through here. Most are playing games. This one, he looks at you like you're sacred. Be careful with your heart, Piccola. Men like that, they consume everything." "I know," Leah says softly. "I'm being careful." But she's lying. She's not being careful at all. She's falling, fast and hard, for a man she barely knows but somehow understands completely. She sees the loneliness he hides behind success, the fear of connection that keeps him isolated, the careful control that's both his strength and his prison. She recognizes it because she sees the same things in herself. Different circumstances, same result. Two people protecting their hearts by never risking them. On Friday evening, Agent Parker calls. "The sting is set for Monday. We're going to let them think the deal is back on, get them on tape discussing the fraud. We'll need you there, Ms. Romano, wired, on standby in case we need corroboration of the Italian conversations." Leah agrees, even though her stomach churns with anxiety. That night, sleep won't come. She lies awake, staring at her ceiling, listening to Nona's soft snores from the next room. At 11 p.m., her phone buzzes with a text from a number she recognizes as Xander's. "I know it's late. Can I call you?" She types back, "Yes." Her phone rings immediately. "I can't sleep," Xander says without preamble. "I keep thinking about Monday, about you being anywhere near those men. I'll be surrounded by FBI agents. It's not enough. Nothing feels like enough. Leah, He trails off, exhales roughly. "I need to see you. Not at the cafe, not with an audience, just you and me. Can I take you to dinner tomorrow night? Somewhere quiet where we can talk?" She should say no. She should maintain distance until this investigation is over. She should be sensible and careful, and all the things she's always been. "Yes," she says instead. "What time?" Xander picks her up at 7 p.m. on Saturday in his Range Rover, Tommy driving. He's dressed more casually than she's ever seen him. Dark jeans, a charcoal cashmere sweater, black leather jacket. He looks younger, more approachable, and somehow even more devastating than in his usual suits. "You look beautiful," he says, taking in her simple black dress, the one she usually reserves for family weddings, her curls loose around her shoulders. "You've never seen me outside my work apron," she teases, nerves making her voice breathless. I've been imagining it for months, he admits. Reality is better. They drive to a small Italian restaurant in Greenwich Village, the kind of place with no sign on the door and reservations booked 6 months out. But Xander is Alexander Bell, and they're seated immediately at a private corner table, candlelit and intimate. He orders in Italian, impressive wine selections, and dishes she hasn't had since visiting Naples as a teenager. How did you learn Italian? She asks once they're alone. Study abroad in Florence during business school. I fell in love with the language, the culture, the slower pace of life. For a kid from Philadelphia who grew up on cheesesteaks and ambition, it was revelatory. He pauses, sips his wine. I almost didn't come back. I thought about staying, opening a small consulting firm, living a completely different life. Why didn't you? Fear. I was afraid I'd regret not chasing success, afraid of being ordinary. So I came back, built my empire, and spent 20 years wondering what I sacrificed. His eyes meet hers. Until 6 months ago, when you started making my coffee, and I realized exactly what I'd been missing. Xander, let me say this, Leah. I need you to understand something. I built Bell Capital by taking calculated risks on undervalued assets, companies everyone else overlooked because they only saw surface problems, not underlying potential. I made $50 billion by recognizing value where others saw none. I'm not a company, she says softly. No, you're so much more valuable than any investment I've ever made. He reaches across the table, takes her hand. You're brilliant, brave, loyal, beautiful. You left a career you loved to care for your grandmother. You risked your safety to warn a stranger about fraud. You handled pressure with grace and faced federal agents without flinching. And somehow, impossibly, you make a cortado so perfect that it's the only thing that gets me out of bed most mornings. Her throat tightens. You barely know me. I know you better than you think. I know you hum O Sol Mio when you're happy. I know you always give the homeless man on the corner your extra pastries. I know you call your mother every Sunday, even though the conversations make you tense. I know you dream of opening your own cafe using your grandmother's recipes. I know you bite your bottom lip when you're concentrating, and you tuck your hair behind your left ear when you're nervous, and you say, porca miseria, under your breath when you're frustrated. Leah stares at him, stunned. He's right. About all of it. That's creepy? Obsessive? He smiles ruefully. Probably. But Leah, I haven't felt anything real in years, and then you walked into my life every morning with that smile and that perfectly steamed milk, and those eyes that see right through my bullshit, and suddenly I was human again, feeling again, wanting again. Wanting what, she whispers. Everything. Conversations at 2 a.m., lazy Sunday mornings, someone who challenges me, calls me on my shit, makes me laugh. A life that's not just conference calls and profit margins, a reason to leave the office before midnight. He pauses. You. I want you, Leah. All of you. And I know it's insane and the timing is terrible and I'm probably scaring you. But Monday you're going to be in a room with dangerous men. And if something happened to you before I told you how I feel, I'd never forgive myself. The raw honesty steals her breath. She spent 18 months protecting herself, building walls, choosing safe over scary. And here's this man, this powerful, brilliant, terrifying man, offering her everything she didn't know she wanted. I'm scared, she admits, of this, of you, of how much I want things I've convinced myself I don't deserve. Why don't you deserve them? Because I left my career. Because I'm 32 and making lattes. Because my life is on hold while I care for my grandmother, and that's not fair to anyone who gets involved with me. Xander stands abruptly, moves to her side of the table, and crouches beside her chair so they're eye level. He takes both her hands. Listen to me. You didn't leave your career. You made an impossible choice between ambition and love, and you chose love. That doesn't make you less. That makes you extraordinary. Your life isn't on hold. You're living according to your values, putting family first, honoring the woman who raised you, and any man worth having would never see that as a burden. He'd see it as proof of your character, your loyalty, your capacity for love. Tears prick her eyes. Xander, I'm falling for you, Leah. Have been since the first time you remembered my order without asking. And today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, whatever you need, I'm here. If that's security for your grandmother, or help with medical bills, or just someone to talk to at 2 a.m. when it gets hard, I'm here. Not because I owe you for saving my company, because I choose you. Every morning at 6:47, I choose you. She breaks. The tears come, and he pulls her into his arms right there in the restaurant, holding her while she cries 18 months of exhaustion and loneliness and fear into his expensive sweater. He doesn't shush her or tell her it's okay. He just holds her, strong and steady until the storm passes. When she finally pulls back, he wipes her tears with his thumbs, his touch infinitely gentle. Feel better? Mortified, but yes. Don't be. I've cried on a therapist's couch more times than I can count. You're allowed to break down, Leah. You don't have to be strong every second of every day. She laughs wetly. You go to therapy? Weekly. Have for 10 years. How do you think I recognized my feelings for you? My therapist pointed out I was talking about you more than my actual life. He grins. Dr. Morrison's going to be very smug when I tell her she was right. The admission is so honest, so human, that Leah feels something inside her shift permanently. This isn't a fantasy. This is a real man with real vulnerabilities offering her a real chance at something beautiful. I'm falling for you too, she whispers. I have been for months. I just didn't let myself acknowledge it. His eyes flare, intense and hungry. Say that again. I'm falling for you, Alexander Bell. Against all logic and common sense, I'm falling hard. He kisses her, right there in the restaurant, with waiters discreetly averting their eyes and other diners pretending not to watch. He cups her face in his hands and kisses her like she's oxygen and he's been drowning. It's not gentle. It's desperate, consuming, 6 months of restraint shattering in an instant. She kisses him back with equal intensity, her hands fisting in his sweater, pulling him closer even though they're in public and this is crazy and she doesn't care. When they finally break apart, both breathing hard, he rests his forehead against hers. Come home with me, he breathes. Not for, I just want more time with you. We can talk, watch a movie, order takeout. I have a guest room with its own bathroom. Tommy can bring you home whenever you want. Just don't make me take you back yet. Please. She should say no. Should go home to Nona, maintain propriety, be sensible. But she's so tired of being sensible. So tired of putting everyone else first. And she wants this, wants him, wants one night where she's just Leah, not a caregiver or a barista or a federal witness, just a woman with a man who looks at her like she hung the moon. Okay, she says, take me home. Xander's penthouse occupies the top 3 floors of a building in Tribeca. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcase Manhattan glittering like a jewel box. The decor is masculine but warm, clearly professionally designed but personalized with art and books and comfortable furniture that invites use rather than display. This is incredible, Leah breathes, moving to the windows. The city spreads beneath them, infinite and bright. It's empty, Xander says quietly, coming to stand beside her. I bought it 5 years ago, hired the best designers, spent $3 million making it perfect, and then realized I'd built a museum, not a home. I sleep here, shower here, but I don't live here. Not really. She turns to look at him, sees the loneliness etched in his features. Why not? Because home is supposed to be where you want to be, and I've been using work as an excuse to avoid the fact that I have nowhere I want to be, until now. Until now? Until I started having a reason to leave the office, a reason to wake up before dawn, a reason to look forward to mornings. He turns to face her fully. You gave me that, Leah. For 6 months, you've been the best part of every day, and I didn't even realize it until I almost lost everything and you saved me. She reaches up, touches his face, traces the line of his jaw. He leans into her touch like a man starved for affection. You're not what I expected, she says softly. What did you expect? Cold, arrogant, untouchable. But you're none of those things. You're lonely and kind and so afraid of being hurt that you've isolated yourself completely. She steps closer. I understand that. I've been doing the same thing. We're quite a pair, he murmurs, his hands settling on her waist. Two people terrified of connection, finally finding someone worth the risk. Is that what this is? Worth the risk? Leah, you're worth every risk I've ever been afraid to take. He kisses her again, slower this time, but no less intense. His hands slide up her back, pulling her flush against him. She can feel every hard plane of his body, the controlled strength, the barely leashed desire. When his tongue sweeps into her mouth, she moans softly, her fingers threading into his hair. They stay like that for long minutes, kissing against the window with Manhattan as their witness. His hands roam her back, her sides, learning her curves. Her body responds with heat that's been building for 6 months, awakening desires she's suppressed for too long. When his lips trail down her neck, finding the sensitive spot below her ear, she gasps. Xander, tell me to stop, he breathes against her skin. Tell me this is too fast and I'll stop. We'll watch a movie, order pizza. I'll be a perfect gentleman. She pulls back just enough to meet his eyes. What if I don't want you to be a gentleman? His pupils dilate, eyes going dark with want. What do you want, Leah? I want... She hesitates, fear and desire warring inside her. I want to stop being afraid. I want to stop putting my life on hold. I want to feel alive again, desired again, like I matter as more than a caregiver or a coffee maker. I want you, Xander. Tonight, all of you. You're sure? His voice is rough, barely controlled. Because if we do this, if I have you, Leah, there's no going back for me. You'll be mine, and I'll be yours, and I don't do casual. I don't do temporary. If we cross this line, I'm all in. The declaration should terrify her. Instead, it feels like coming home. I'm sure. I'm all in, too. Something breaks in his restraint. He lifts her easily, her legs wrapping around his waist as he carries her through the penthouse to his bedroom. The room is massive, dominated by a king bed with crisp white linens. He sets her down beside it, his hands framing her face. You're so beautiful, he murmurs. I've been imagining this for months, and reality is better than every fantasy. Show me, she whispers. Show me how you imagined it. He undresses her slowly, reverently, each revealed inch of skin worshipped with kisses and gentle touches. When she stands before him in just her simple cotton bra and panties, self-consciousness flares. She's not a model, not built like the women who typically grace his world. He sees her hesitation immediately. Don't, he says firmly. Don't doubt for 1 second how perfect you are. Your curves, your softness, everything about you is exactly what I want. His hands span her, waist, slide up to cup her breasts through the thin fabric. You're perfect, Leah. Perfect for me. She relaxes into his touch, into the certainty in his voice. He removes the last barriers between them, then undresses himself with efficient movements. When he stands before her, naked and aroused, she can't help but stare. He's beautiful, all lean muscle and controlled power, and he wants her. The evidence is impossible to ignore. He pulls her down onto the bed, his body covering hers, skin to skin finally after months of imagining. Tell me what you like, he murmurs, kissing down her neck across her collarbone. Tell me what you need. You, she gasps as his mouth finds her breast. Just you. He takes his time exploring her body, learning what makes her gasp, what makes her arch, what makes her moan his name. His hands and mouth are everywhere, patient and thorough, building her pleasure with the same focused intensity he brings to everything. When he finally settles between her thighs, his mouth finding her most sensitive places, she comes apart with a cry that echoes through the bedroom. Before she can recover, he's moving up her body, positioning himself at her entrance. Look at me, he commands softly. I want to see your eyes. She meets his gaze as he pushes inside her slowly, stretching and filling her until they are completely joined. The sensation is overwhelming, perfect, exactly what she's been craving without knowing it. He stills, giving her time to adjust, his control evident in every tense muscle. Okay? He asks roughly. More than okay, she breathes. Perfect. He moves then, slow and deep, setting a rhythm that builds steadily toward something devastating. She meets him thrust for thrust, her legs wrapped around his waist, her hands gripping his shoulders. He kisses her through it all, swallowing her moans, breathing her name like a prayer. When her second climax builds, he feels it, angles his hips to hit exactly the right spot. "That's it," he growls. "Let go, Leah. I've got you." She shatters, and he follows her over the edge, his control finally breaking as he buries himself deep and finds his own release. They collapse together, breathing hard, hearts racing in sync. "Stay," he murmurs into her hair. "Tonight, tomorrow, forever. Just stay." "Okay," she whispers, too overwhelmed to say more. "Okay." They drift into sleep tangled together, and for the first time in months, neither of them dreams of being alone. Leah wakes to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of fresh coffee. For a moment, disorientation floods her. This isn't her apartment. These aren't her threadbare sheets. Then memory returns in a rush. The restaurant, the confession, coming home with Xander, everything that followed. She sits up, pulling the sheet around herself, and finds Xander standing by the window wearing only pajama pants, holding 2 cups of coffee. He's on the phone, speaking in rapid Italian, but when he sees she's awake, his face transforms. He ends the call and crosses to the bed. "Good morning," he says, offering her a cup. "I made it myself. It's terrible compared to yours, but it's hot." She takes a sip, smiles. "It's perfect." He sits beside her on the bed, his free hand finding hers. "How do you feel? Any regrets?" "No regrets. You?" "None." "Leah, last night was—" He pauses, searching for words. "I've had relationships, I've had experiences, but I've never had that. That connection, that intensity, that sense of rightness. You've completely destroyed me for anyone else." She laughs softly. "Destroyed in a good way, I hope?" "The best way." He kisses her gently. "I called your grandmother's day nurse. Mrs. Lee is with her this morning. I took the liberty of paying for the full day. I hope that's okay. You didn't have to do that. I wanted more time with you. Is that selfish? Maybe, but I want it too." She sets down her coffee, pulls him closer. "What time is it?" 8:30. "So we have hours before I need to be anywhere." His eyes darken with understanding. "Hours. What did you have in mind?" "I want to learn more about what you like," she murmurs, pushing him back against the pillows. "I want to explore you the way you explored me last night." "Leah," his voice is already rough with renewed desire. "Show me, Xander. Teach me exactly how to make you lose control." He does. They spend the morning learning each other, the awkwardness of new lovers giving way to growing confidence and deepening connection. Between rounds, they talk. Real conversations about childhood, dreams, fears, failures. He tells her about the mentor who died 3 years ago, leaving him that watch and a hole in his life he's never filled. She tells him about the fiancé who left when Nona's diagnosis meant their plans had to change, how the betrayal made her question everything she thought she knew about love. "He was an idiot," Xander says fiercely. "Anyone who couldn't see your loyalty as the gift it is doesn't deserve you." Or maybe I was asking too much, expecting him to upend his life for my family. "You weren't asking him to upend his life. You were asking him to love you enough to adjust his plans. There's a difference. Love isn't a performance during the easy times. It's showing up when things get hard. He failed that test, but I won't, Leah. Whatever comes, I'm here." She believes him. Against all logic, despite knowing him such a short time, she believes him completely. At 2 p.m., Tommy arrives to take her home. Xander insists on coming, helping her up the stairs to her apartment. Nona is having a good day, lucid and bright-eyed. She takes one look at them, holding hands, glowing, and bursts into delighted Italian. "Finalmente! Finally you bring home a man who looks at you right." She turns to Xander. "You're in love with my Leah, yes?" Xander doesn't hesitate. "Yes, Signora, very much in love." Leah's heart stops. They haven't said the words yet, but he's saying them now to her grandmother without any hesitation or fear. Nona beams. "Good. She deserves a man who loves big. My Giulio, he loved me big. 48 years married, every day he chose me. You will choose my Leah like that?" "Every day," Xander promises, "for the rest of my life." When he finally leaves, after staying for dinner and charming Nona with stories and terrible Italian jokes, Leah walks him to the door. "You told her you love me." "I do love you. I know it's fast. I know we've technically only been together 24 hours, but Leah, I've been falling for 6 months. I just finally caught up with my own feelings. I love you too, she whispers. I'm terrified and it makes no logical sense, but I love you too. He kisses her, deep and thorough. Tomorrow we deal with the FBI and the criminals. But tonight, you know I love you, and I know you love me. And that's enough. They've found love, but danger's coming. Will their connection survive the FBI sting? Let's see how their love story faces its biggest test. Chapter 3. Monday morning arrives with the weight of inevitability. Leah meets Agent Parker and 3 other federal agents in a nondescript office building in Lower Manhattan. They wire her with a tiny microphone, give her a panic button disguised as a bracelet, and review the plan for the 10th time. The sting is simple in theory. The FBI has convinced the criminals that Xander reconsidered and wants to complete the deal. He's meeting them at a private office in Midtown, contract ready for signature. Leah will be in an adjacent room, listening through headphones for any Italian conversation that might need immediate translation. FBI agents will be everywhere, ready to arrest the moment they have sufficient recorded evidence. Xander arrives with Tommy and his legal team. When he sees Leah wired and pale, his jaw clenches. He pulls Agent Parker aside. If anything goes wrong, you pull her out immediately. I don't care about the case, about the evidence, about anything except her safety. Mr. Bell, we have protocols. I don't care about your protocols. If those men suspect anything, if there's any indication of danger, you pull her out. That's non-negotiable, or I walk right now and this whole operation dies. Agent Parker studies him, then nods. Agreed. Her safety is priority 1. The meeting begins at 3 p.m. Leah sits in the listening room, headphones on, every muscle tense as she hears Xander greet the 4 men with perfect cordiality. They're speaking English, discussing final terms, making small talk about markets and opportunities. Xander is masterful, asking just enough questions to sound cautious without raising suspicion. Then, 20 minutes in, 2 of the men switch to Italian. It's the same Neapolitan dialect as before, crude and confident. Questo idiota sta davvero per firmare, the younger one says. This idiot is really about to sign. L'FBI non ha trovato niente. Siamo puliti. The FBI found nothing. We're clean. Leah's blood runs cold. She signals to Agent Parker, who listens through her own headphones and nods grimly. They have enough. She gives the signal to the arrest team. Everything happens fast. FBI agents burst into both rooms simultaneously. Leah is surrounded immediately, Tommy materializing beside her like he was waiting for this moment. In the other room, controlled chaos as federal agents announce themselves, begin reading rights, secure suspects. One of the men, the silver-haired one who'd laughed about stealing $300 million, sees Leah through the connecting door. Recognition flashes across his face, then fury. He lunges toward her, screaming in Italian, "You, the coffee girl! You ruined everything!" Tommy moves like lightning, putting himself between Leah and the threat. 3 FBI agents tackle the man before he gets within 10 feet of her, but the violence of his reaction, the raw hatred in his eyes, makes Leah's knees buckle. Xander is there instantly, pulling her into his arms, his body a shield. "I've got you," he breathes. "You're safe. He can't touch you." The man is dragged away, still shouting threats in Italian. Agent Parker approaches, her expression grim. "Ms. Romano, we'll need your formal statement about what you just heard, and about his verbal threats just now. But the good news is, we have everything on tape. The fraud conspiracy, the bribery admission, the threat against a federal witness, these men are looking at 20 years minimum." Leah nods numbly, unable to speak. Xander holds her tighter. Over the next 3 hours, she gives her statement, signs paperwork, and is finally released into Xander's custody. Tommy drives them back to the penthouse because Leah can't stop shaking. In Xander's living room, she finally breaks down. The fear she's been suppressing for a week, the adrenaline crash, the trauma of being threatened. She sobs in his arms, and he holds her through it all, murmuring reassurances and pressing kisses to her hair. "I'm sorry," she gasps. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to fall apart like this." "You have nothing to apologize for. You faced down international criminals twice now. You're the bravest person I know. But bravery doesn't mean you don't get to break afterward. Break all you need, Leah. I'll hold you together until you can do it yourself. When the storm finally passes, she pulls back to look at him. What happens now? Now you stay here until the trial's over and they're all in prison. I've already talked to your mother. She's going to take Nona for a few weeks, give her round-the-clock care at her house. Mrs. Lee has agreed to help. You're going to rest, recover, and let me take care of you for once. Xander, that's too much. I can't ask you. You're not asking. I'm telling you. Leah, do you understand what you did for me? You saved my company, yes. But more than that, you saved me. For years I've been sleepwalking through life, going through motions, building wealth without purpose. And then you warned me about that fraud, and I realized this brilliant, brave woman sees something in me worth saving. If she thinks I'm worth the risk she took, maybe I actually am. You are, she says fiercely. You're worth everything, Xander. Then let me prove I feel the same about you. Stay with me, not just until the trial. Stay with me, period. Move in here. Bring Nona when she's ready. I'll hire the best care team in New York. I'll retrofit the entire floor if needed. Just choose me, Leah. Choose us. Choose the life we could build together. It's insane. They've known each other 6 months of morning coffee, 3 days of real intimacy. And he's asking her to move in. Every practical bone in her body screams that it's too fast, too much, too risky. But her heart knows better. Her heart recognized him 6 months ago when he walked into Bella Vista and ordered his first cortado. Her heart has been choosing him every morning since, whether she admitted it or not. Okay, she whispers. Yes, I choose you, Xander. I choose us. He kisses her with a passion that steals her breath, lifting her into his arms and carrying her to the bedroom. They make love with desperate intensity, celebrating survival and connection and the incredible fact that they found each other against all odds. Afterward, tangled together in his sheets, he traces patterns on her bare shoulder. I want to marry you, he says quietly. I know it's too soon to propose. I know we need time to build a life first. But I'm telling you now, my intention is forever. You're it for me, Leah, the last woman I'll ever love. Forever sounds perfect, she murmurs, sleep pulling at her. Ask me again in 6 months. I will, he promises. And 6 months after that, and 6 months after that, until you finally say yes. She smiles against his chest. Stubborn man. You love me anyway. I do. God help me, I really do. The trial takes 4 months. Leah testifies 3 times, her translation skills and first-hand testimony crucial to the prosecution's case. Xander is beside her every step, holding her hand in the courthouse, celebrating small victories, comforting her through difficult cross-examinations. The defense attorneys try to discredit her, suggest her relationship with Xander biases her testimony, imply she's motivated by money or attention. But Leah is unshakable. She delivers her testimony in calm, clear Italian and English, and the jury believes every word. All 4 men are convicted on multiple counts. Combined sentences total over 80 years. The FBI recovers $2 billion in stolen assets, and several other victims come forward with their own cases now that the ring is exposed. During those 4 months, Leah and Xander build their life together. She officially moves into the penthouse, though it takes 3 weeks to convince Nona to leave Brooklyn. But when she sees the floor Xander renovated specifically for her, complete with a kitchen stocked with her favorite Italian ingredients and a team of nurses who speak Neapolitan dialect, Nonna gives her blessing. Questo è un uomo che ama bene, Nonna tells Leah in Italian. This is a man who loves well. Come il mio Giulio. Sposalo presto, bambina. Like my Giulio. Marry him soon, little one. Leah doesn't tell her that Xander proposes every 2 weeks like clockwork, always with the same simple question. Will you marry me yet? Each time, Leah says, ask me when the trial is over and life is settled. He asks anyway, at breakfast, in the shower, after making love, walking through Central Park. Every time his eyes are completely serious, and every time Leah's heart says yes, even though her mouth says not yet. 6 months after the FBI sting, exactly to the day, Xander takes her back to Bella Vista Cafe. Mr. Caruso has closed early at Xander's request. The cafe is empty except for candles on every table and Italian opera playing softly through the speakers. "What is this?" Leah asks, breathless. "This is where we began," Xander says, leading her to his corner table. "6 months ago, you whispered a warning in Italian and saved my life. Today, I want to make you a promise in the language you taught me to love." He kneels beside the table, pulling out a ring box. Inside is a vintage Italian ring, delicate gold with a single perfect diamond. "Giuliana Romano," he says in flawless Italian, "sei l'amore della mia vita. Mi hai salvato in tutti I modi possibili. Vuoi sposarmi? Vuoi costruire una famiglia con me? Vuoi passare il resto dei tuoi giorni lasciandomi amarti nel modo che meriti? You are the love of my life. You saved me in every way possible. Will you marry me? Will you build a family with me? Will you spend the rest of your days letting me love you the way you deserve?" Tears stream down her face. "Si," she breathes. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." He slides the ring onto her finger, stands and kisses her in the empty cafe where everything began. Outside, through the window, she can see Tommy and Agent Parker and Mr. Caruso waiting with champagne and smiles. "I love you," Xander murmurs against her lips, "from the first cortado to forever. I love you too, my Wall Street king who learned that the best investments are the ones you make with your heart." 18 months later. The new Bella Vista Cafe, Romano Belle Edition, opens on a sunny October morning in Tribeca. It's 3 times the size of the original Brooklyn location, featuring Nonna's recipes from Naples, artisan Italian ingredients, and a warm atmosphere that makes every customer feel like family. Leah stands behind the counter in her custom apron, embroidered with co-owner in Italian script, making the morning rush of cortados and cappuccinos. She's 8 months pregnant, her baby bump prominent beneath the apron, but she refuses to slow down. This cafe is her dream realized, funded by her husband but built by her vision. Xander walks in at 6:47 a.m. exactly, just like always, though now he lives with her instead of just visiting. He's holding their 18-month-old daughter, Julia, who squeals, "Mama," when she sees Leah. "Your wife," he tells their daughter seriously, "is the most stubborn woman in New York. She's supposed to be taking it easy, but instead she's making coffee for 100 people. "And my husband," Leah says, kissing him over the counter, then kissing Julia's chubby cheeks, "is the most overprotective man in Manhattan. I'm pregnant, not broken." "You're 8 months pregnant with twins. There's a difference." Twins who are perfectly healthy and whose mother is perfectly capable of making her husband's morning coffee. She slides him his cortado, perfect as always. Ethiopian beans, extra foam, 156 degrees. Some things never change. He sips, closes his eyes in contentment. Some things should never change. This is still the best part of my day. Better than morning snuggles with Julia? Tied for first place. Nonna emerges from the kitchen, flour on her apron, speaking rapid Italian to 2 young chefs she's training in authentic Neapolitan baking. Her Alzheimer's has progressed, but the kitchen grounds her, and she has more good days than bad. When she sees Xander with Julia, her face lights up. "Il mio bel genero e la mia bisnipote," my handsome son-in-law and my great-granddaughter. She takes Julia from Xander, cooing to her in Italian, carrying her back to the kitchen to help bake biscotti. Tommy arrives next, his daily ritual, ordering an Americano and taking his position at the corner table where he can watch the entrance. He nods to Xander, who nods back. After 18 months, they've developed their own shorthand, a friendship built on mutual respect and shared purpose, protecting Leah. The morning rush builds. Regular customers, tourists drawn by glowing reviews, business people from nearby offices. Leah moves through it all with grace and joy, exactly where she's supposed to be. This cafe represents everything she'd dreamed of, honoring Nonna's legacy, celebrating Italian culture, building community, creating something that's hers. At 7:30, Xander approaches the counter during a brief lull. "I have a board meeting at 9, but I wanted to ask you something first." "What's that?" He leans close, whispers in Italian, "Will you marry me again?" She laughs, the question absurd since they've been married for 14 months. "We're already married, amor." "I know. But I want to marry you again every single day. Want to promise again that I choose you, always. Want to remind you that saving me in Italian was the best thing that ever happened to both of us. You're ridiculous. You love me anyway. I do, she agrees, kissing him softly. Every single day, I choose you too. He leaves reluctantly, Tommy following, both men looking back at the cafe like they're leaving treasure behind. Leah touches her wedding ring, then her pregnant belly, then looks around the cafe filled with customers and family and dreams realized. 6 years ago, she had a different plan, different career, different future. But life had other ideas. Life brought her a grandmother who needed care, a choice that cost her everything she thought she wanted, and a morning routine that led her to a lonely Wall Street king who needed saving. She thinks about that Tuesday morning, the moment she had to choose between safety and doing what was right. If she hadn't warned him, where would she be now? Still making coffee in the original Bella Vista, going through motions, surviving but not living, alone. Instead, she has love, partnership, family, purpose, dreams realized beyond anything she imagined. The door chimes and a new customer enters, a woman in her 50s, well-dressed but tired-looking, carrying the weight of the world. She approaches the counter hesitantly. "Welcome to Bella Vista," Leah says warmly in English, then again in Italian. "What can I get you?" "Just surprise me," the woman says. "Something warm, something that feels like hope." Leah smiles, understanding completely. "I know exactly what you need." She makes a cortado, perfect temperature, perfect foam, the way she's made thousands before. But she also adds something extra, a biscotti fresh from Nonna's oven, a kind smile, a moment of genuine human connection. "On the house," Leah says, sliding it across the counter. "Everyone deserves something beautiful to start their day." The woman's eyes fill with tears. "Thank you. You have no idea how much I needed this." "Oh, I think I do," Leah says softly. "We all need saving sometimes. Sometimes it comes in big, dramatic gestures. Sometimes it's just a perfect cup of coffee and someone who sees you." The woman leaves smiling, and Leah returns to her work. Behind her, Nonna is teaching Julia to shape dough, singing Neapolitan lullabies. The cafe hums with life and warmth and possibility. And at 6:47 tomorrow morning, her husband will walk through that door again, looking at her like she hung the moon, choosing her the way he's chosen her every single day since she whispered a warning in Italian and changed both their lives forever. Some love stories start with grand gestures. Theirs started with a whisper, a warning, and the courage to trust a stranger. It turns out, that was exactly enough. Did you love Leah and Xander's story? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more emotional romance stories like this one.